We become a little bit more sophisticated in our soccer awareness and knowledge. Moms and dads looking at how the game can be played, how it is possible to play the game, because they can look around now to a lot of universities and see good soccer going on. They can see professional soccer, in your case, right in your own backyard. You can go and watch professional games. And my goodness, what we can see on TV now is astounding. We can see the very best soccer from anywhere on the planet. So now we have that picture as to what the game can look like. And so now they're beginning to recognize, I want my child to have that opportunity with a little bit more knowledgeable coach, a little bit more talented coach, a little bit more experienced coach, basically a better teacher, and in order to impact the development of my child. And so this is what often is the spark that gets that club, or a lot of clubs, moving to that next stage. And then if you look at some of our more professional clubs, if you will, they're in the business of developing players so that in the end they can sell them in order to make money. Right? The European, South American, well, the model that's used everywhere except for the United States and Canada. Right? And that is when you look at what is beginning to happen with, in particular, some of the MLS youth teams. I live in Dallas, and so I'm in the same park. I'm literally 50 yards across the parking lot from the FC Dallas offices and stadium, and I work a lot with their coaches and their players and the such. And their business, even though they know it's going to be 1 out of 100 kids that they've got in their club, is to sell, well, to either have one of those kids become a part of their first team and not have to spend any more money in buying players from elsewhere, or to eventually be able to sell one of those youth players once they hit 18, 19, 20 years old and sell them to another club and make their money back in development. So that business design is no different than professional clubs around the world. And below that, they have a plan. They're a regular soccer club in that regard. They're obviously not selling 14-year-olds to contracts, but they have a plan for the development of all those kids, because that's what they're looking to do, is try to develop them to the highest level that they possibly can. So that's the design that you're seeing beginning to occur with some of the quote-unquote more professional clubs, and particularly the ones that are beginning to happen now a good deal at the MLS. And you're going to see a whole lot more of that with MLS, because Adidas just signed a $20 million contract with MLS. So now there's the cash to be able to make a lot of it happen. That wasn't there before. So that's going to grow, that piece is going to grow all across the country with our professional teams, as a part of our professional teams. That piece, coaches, is a little bit different than the model that's in most other professional sports in the United States, who don't extend that young, that low. They let the universities do that work for them. They let the high schools do that work for them. Only baseball, well, not only baseball, but baseball being the most notable with a minor league system. But really, baseball lets college develop the players prior to that and so forth. So soccer's taking a little bit, the professional soccer level's taking a little bit of a different approach. So with our clubs, obviously an administrative part as well as a coaching part, the risk management discussion. By the way, do you do background checks on your coaches and referees and administrators and all of that? So that's part of that. That's a piece of that puzzle, okay? As well as facilities and the such in this area. With a lot of our clubs, another piece of it is, what's the recruitment for the best players? I didn't get into that discussion with John this afternoon, but certainly this is an issue with a lot of our clubs, particularly in metropolitan areas, where it's easy for the families to jump from club to club to club. Indeed, even coaches will jump from club to club to club when they're so close to one another. So this is an issue that a lot of state associations are having to deal with, a lot of clubs are having to deal with. And I always put forward to coaches, if you're, as a club, if you have a good plan, a good game plan to the development of your players, you have a good work that's going on in terms of the education and development and growth of your coaches, then you should have such a positive soccer experience there that the kids will go, well, why do I want to go someplace else? This is great for me. This is the right place for me. So it's taking a look a little bit more at, if our players do leave, why are they leaving? What can we do? What parts do we have direct control over to be able to improve our situation? Some things we don't have direct control over. But what are the pieces that we do have some control over, and address those? And so the biggest part that most people are looking for is that quality coaching and quality officiating. Then there's that issue of what's the competition with the local leagues, and I learned this afternoon that the one league, the Rock League that you're playing in, is a real kind of hit and miss kind of situation. That's something for every club that's a part of that league to address and try to make it better as a unified effort, because you're in a league with other clubs in order to provide you that competition that you want, and to make that as much as possible level competition, because it's level competition that develops players. When it's unlevel competition, it doesn't help either team. If you're winning 5-0, that doesn't help either team to develop. You need a lot of 1-to-1 matches, 1-0 matches, 2-to-1 matches, those sort of things, where you're winning, tying, losing those games, and it's a bit of a flip of the coin as to whether or not you're going to win, lose, or draw. That's competition. That's what develops players, when it's more equal competition between the teams. And so that's part of that, providing that appropriate environment to facilitate growth and development of the players. Here's one of our issues. Take a look around the room. How many women or coaches are in the room? You're not alone. We have this issue all across the country. And it's a hard thing for us to put our fingers on as to exactly why it's happening. As I said, I'm here teaching a national coaching school. We have 27 candidates in the course, and 3 of them are women out of 27. That's not a very good ratio. Yet how many women are playing college soccer and graduate from having played 4 years of college soccer and could be, perhaps should be, involved in coaching, refereeing, being a club administrator, being involved in some way of giving back to the game, but for us as coaches in particular within the coaching ranks. And so those of us who have daughters would love to have our daughter have a good adult female role model outside of the immediate house. You know, as a teacher, as a coach, whether as a scout leader, whatever it might be. So that's a piece of that puzzle. So what can we do to recruit more female coaches and having a little bit of thinking about that rather than just accepting the status quo? We talked about the growth of facility usage a little bit. As you get with your older players, your older teenage players, the possibility of college soccer comes into the picture. John, we didn't really get to that this afternoon, but is that a part of your experience with this club? Do you have kids that are going on to try to play college ball or have aspirations of college soccer?
We do. We actually have the distinction of having the first 15-year-old to be signed to the MLS, Philadelphia Union.
There you go.
So we do. We have that
Yes.
aspiration is there. Whether or not they actually achieve that is another thing.
Well, and what we're getting at in terms of this club model is what is the club doing in addition to the development of those players, but to provide some education to the players and their parents about the college process. You know, about going to go be recruited to play college soccer or to try to play college soccer. It's a pretty involved process. The NCAA clearinghouse, your academic track, et cetera, you know, how to find the right school that fits you both in size and academics and location and soccer style of play. Do they have a need for you? But no, I've got a dozen seniors coming back next year. I don't really need any new guys coming in. You know, knowing all of those things. And that's one of the things that clubs can help with people like the Sports Source and some other organizations that can come in and do those presentations to educate the club administrators, coaches, parents of the kids, and the kids themselves. Probably 10th grade on up would be appropriate for that. So that's just a piece of most of our soccer clubs, because a lot of our kids have the aspiration of wanting to try to play at the college level. It's not until you get to that 1 or 2 kids that are going to sign pro that you get to the agents part. But, you know, keep thinking about it, because if it's happened once, it'll happen again. It might not be for another 20 years. That's a really small number, but it's possible, obviously. And then, you know, designing your mission statement to be able to impact all of those things. It's the international rules adaptation is just our adaptation of the FIFA laws of the game to meet our particular needs. So one, obviously, that in the United States that we've always adapted and always adjusted on is substitution. Even from 16 on up, when it's actually technically not allowed for us to make the change, we've already made the change. Maybe that's why we didn't get the World Cup. But you know, looking at what are our rules adaptation for the different age groups so that they can have that stair-step approach towards playing the adult game of soccer. Then replacing tournaments as the main revenue stream. A lot of clubs got themselves into this